Hey everybody, today we are going to clear up some misconceptions about obsessive-compulsive disorder, or OCD. And a quick shout out to this video's sponsor, NoCD. NoCD therapy matches you with a licensed therapist that is specialized to treat OCD. The therapist will offer you a personalized treatment plan and deliver face-to-face video sessions. Between therapy sessions, inside the NoCD app, you can use therapeutic tools 24/7. You can also message your therapist and learn what helps others in subtype-specific peer communities. To find out more about NoCD, click the link at the top of the description. First, let's talk about what the symptoms of OCD are, just to make sure that we're all on the same page. Now, OCD, according to the DSM, which I know is not the end-all be-all, but it is a great place to start, is characterized by someone who suffers with obsessions, compulsions, or both. Obsessions are defined as recurrent and persistent thoughts, urges, or images that are experienced at some time during the disturbance as intrusive, unwanted, and in most individuals causes marked anxiety or distress, and the individual attempts to ignore or suppress such thoughts, urges, or images, or to neutralize them with some thought or action, like performing a compulsion. And compulsions are defined as repetitive behaviors like hand washing, checking, etc., or mental acts like praying, counting, repeating words silently, that the person feels driven to perform in response to an obsession, or according to the rules that must be applied rigidly. The behaviors or mental acts are aimed at preventing or reducing distress or preventing some dreaded event or situation from happening. However, these behaviors or mental acts either are not connected in a realistic way to what they were designed to neutralize or prevent, or are clearly excessive. Now, these obsessions or compulsions are time-consuming. For example, they usually take up more than an hour of our time each day, or they cause clinically significant distress or impairment in social, occupational, or other areas of functioning. And these issues cannot be better explained by the symptoms of another mental disorder, like excessive worry, which is considered generalized anxiety disorder, or preoccupation with appearance, as in body dysmorphic disorder, hair pulling, as in trichotillomania, skin picking, as in excoriation, and you get the idea. Now that we know what OCD is, let's debunk some of those most common misconceptions. First up is that those with OCD are just neat freaks. They feel the need to wash their hands a lot and just like things to be neat and tidy and organized at all times. Okay, it may surprise you, but a lot of people with OCD are not tidy or clean at all. In fact, some of my patients who struggle with what is called pure OCD, meaning that much of their OCD symptomology happens in their mind, with their obsessions and compulsions being things they think or mentally do. This can be so debilitating that they aren't able to clean their home, be organized, or even keep up with their own hygiene. There are many types of OCD, with some people feeling the urge to constantly check things, like, did I turn the stove off? Is it off? I have to check it a certain number of times. Others struggling with urges to collect or keep possessions, as well as those who need order and symmetry. And those that have obsessions and compulsions related to things being contaminated. So thinking that everyone with OCD is a neat freak is way off. Just like all mental illnesses, everyone will experience it differently. The next misconception is that those with OCD are just uptight, and if they could learn to relax, their OCD would just go away. Now, sure, OCD does come along with worry thoughts, distress, and anxiety that if we don't do the thing we feel compelled to do, that compulsion, something bad is going to happen. However, just relaxing isn't the answer. In order for us to overcome our OCD, we actually have to find ways to calm our system down while slowly exposing ourselves to the anxiety-producing thing. Meaning that if we feel the urge to check the stove 7 times to make sure that it's off, we don't do it. We don't check it at all, while we work to manage the anxiety that comes up as a result. Yes, doing this work is hard. And yes, we will at times give in, but the more we push back and don't do the compulsions, the more quickly our brain will realize that the scary or dangerous thing really isn't a threat after all. In a way, we're rewiring our brain so that it doesn't sound the alarm unless there really is a credible threat. In short, relaxing is only a small portion of the work that we will do in therapy to overcome our symptoms of OCD. The next misconception is that OCD is caused by childhood trauma. Sure, many of us can develop different mental illnesses as a result of the trauma we endured in childhood. But many of those with OCD don't have any history of trauma. Most commonly, in my experience, is actually a history of parents that are too involved or enmeshed with us, meaning that we didn't have healthy boundaries or feel free to be independent and make decisions on our own. And that lack of trust in our own abilities can lead to intense anxiety and worry, and in many cases, OCD. Also, it's more common that we have OCD because someone else in our family does, since genetics do play a role, as well as what we learn through growing up around someone who has it. So in other words, it can be nature and nurture that cause it. The fourth misconception is that all people with OCD are germaphobes. As we talked about earlier, OCD can take on many forms depending on the person who has it. And some of the most common fears or obsessions that I've heard from you over the years are the fear of becoming a predator, since many of our intrusive thoughts can be harming someone else physically or sexually. Another common one is the fear that someone we love will die or something bad will happen to them, which is why we can want to check certain things over and over again to make sure that they or the area that we're in is safe. And another fear I've dealt with in my office with a few of my patients is the fear of certain numbers or days. We can think something terrible is going to happen if we do that thing a number of times, or we can refuse to book any event on a specific date or time. As you can see, OCD can cause us to have a lot of different fears. And a lot of those have nothing to do with germs. Only some of us will have germophobia. Therefore, that dispels the myth that all people with OCD are germaphobes. And the final misconception that I'm going to address today is that OCD isn't treatable, and those who are diagnosed with it just have to learn how to live with it. It is very much treatable and something we can overcome with the right help. Like we talked about briefly before, our OCD symptoms happen because the alarm system in our brain goes off when it thinks we might be in danger, i.e., our obsessions. And then we do what we need to do in order to feel safe, calm, or okay again, our compulsions. The problem with this is that our alarm system is going off all the time, even when we logically know that there isn't really a threat. And all of those alarms get in the way of us living our life. But we can retrain our brain to not sound the alarm when there isn't a credible threat through exposure response prevention therapy, or ERP. And this is a style of therapy that's offered through the NoCD app. ERP works by first exposing ourselves to the images, situations, people, or things that trigger our compulsions. And the next step is us making the choice to not do the compulsion. It is difficult and should be done with the support of a licensed therapist. But the more times we decide to not do the compulsion, the lower and lower our anxiety or upset will get. And we will slowly prove to ourselves that the thing we worried about so intensely isn't really a threat, and nothing bad happened. And the alarm that used to go off all the time will stop. In short, we are building up a new habit or retraining our brain to not be as reactive. And talk therapy actually isn't recommended for the treatment of OCD because it tends to focus on helping us gain insight into our issues. And while it can help to know where our OCD comes from, or have a greater understanding of our triggers, that doesn't help us overcome the urges and get our life back. And that's why exposure treatments like ERP are considered the best route for those of us struggling with symptoms of OCD. I hope this was helpful and possibly helped you better understand what OCD is versus what it isn't. And there are so many more myths and misconceptions out there, so feel free to leave those in the comments down below so that we can keep learning together. Thank you so much for watching and have a great week. Bye.